Hey guys, it's Jimbo's Grapes here, and as you can see, I got the purple circle with the very disappointing watermark there. That should be what rank I am. I'm sure they will fix it soon. Anyways, I just wanted to do a video because there seems to be a pretty big lack of SoulForge content on the YouTubes, and I wanted to show off a little bit the deck that I used to get to Titanium. And just a little how to play it and what the decisions were going into it. Why it's even called Yetis with Raids. It used to be Yetis with AIDS, but um, cut the Yetis and cut the AIDS. So it's basically just a raid deck now. Um, could easily be called a aggressive deck. Yetis with aggressiveness. I don't know. Anyways, and yeah, so I use this deck. This is the second time I've actually gone to Titanium using predominantly this deck. Um, Occasionally, the deck does have bad matchups, as pretty much all aggressive decks do. Poison being one of the bad matchups that really added a couple extra hours to my grind, really, just from the poison deck, because it does very well against pretty much everything else. Aggressive decks typically pretty bad against like mid-range control decks, which is exactly what poison is. But usually pretty good against other creature decks that aren't as controlling. Really good against burn because you can kill them before they can kill you, and also fairly good against control. You can really flip the switch and pump someone down and kill them before power level 3 pretty easily with this deck with all the aggression that you have. Um, so I'll go over my choices and the deck iteration. So originally I had Cauldron Mystic. And this guy was actually really awesome. I quite enjoyed having him in the deck. You get a lot of extra ping damage, especially with the free creatures. And one day, I may actually make something like a 36 card deck with Relic Scouts um, and the 1/1 guys, all the free creatures with Cauldron Mystic. I think that would actually be a really cool idea. And there's a lot of different directions you can go with that with AT. Just playing like a really good value deck. Anyways, so this guy was originally in the deck, as well as what's his name? No, that's not it. Um, War Chief, was that it? No. The guy that I guess I could just type in Yeti. It'd probably make a lot more sense. The Aranti Warlord, that's what it was, Warlord. So yeah, I had the Warlord and the Cauldron Mystic, and that was kind of the Yeti package. It was just those two cards, nothing really else there. Honestly, this guy would actually probably have been a good fit as well in the deck if I were to ever add the Yetis back in. And don't get me wrong, that version of the deck was fine. For what I was trying to do, which was get to Titanium. Sorry, Hearthstone has got Legendary stuck in my mind, even though I don't play that game barely at all. Don't play this game as much anymore either. Besides the point. Um, if I were to go back to the Yeti iteration, which was still a very strong iteration, this guy would definitely be worth considering. Very strong. The only problem with this guy is one of the main ways that you get a lot of really good blowouts with the Uranti Warlord is people block your Yetis, which is always a mistake, by the way, unless you're going to die if you don't. This guy obviously very much detracts from people blocking, so a little bit of a nombo with him and the Warlord. Whatever. This guy, all of your creatures basically can never be blocked. Again, a little bit of a nombo with Ator because then they're going to fill all their other lanes. But he's still a very strong card. There's no denying that. Anyways, so the original deck did not have Chaos Twister. I don't think it had many Blitz mains. If it might have had two or none at all. I don't think Shardplate Behemoth was in there. Fit of Rage definitely not, which Fit of Rage is not a very good card. It's kind of, it made me win one game, and I've played about maybe 400 or more games with this deck, and I've won one game with Fit of Rage that I can remember. I will get into Fit of Rage and why it's in the deck, because I do think it is an important piece of the deck, but get to that. But yeah, anyways, there was no Lysian Shard. I don't know. I love Lysian Shard. I play it all the time in like pretty much any Utera deck that I play. Yeah, I just love this card. I don't know why. It's not amazing, but I don't know. I really like it. It makes your decks against um, any non-Necrium deck, I think, quite a lot more powerful. So yeah, I just really like Lysian Shard. And I don't think it had Koroks either. Yeah. And Korok has been outstanding. So anyways, so the original version of the deck was more of like a value based, try to like build up a board slowly kind of deck, and then drop a Loris and get the raids on. It also had the poison guy originally. Was it this guy? No, it was the crappy one, the really, really crappy one, which should have never seen the light of day. It's so bad. This guy, Hive Empress. It had 2 copies of this. I don't think this card did anything ever. It's just not good. So I ended up cutting that, and I was noticing that a lot of the time I was very much on the beatdown plan, and although the Yetis were good and very nice removal, I noticed that the deck could just pump out a lot of creatures and you let your opponent deal with your stuff instead of you dealing with your opponent's stuff. So I cut off all those from the deck, and I decided to go a much more aggressive route and a much more raid-oriented route with the Blitzbanes and the Koroks. And then also on the aggression factor, Lysian Shards, Shardplate Behemoths, all that good stuff. The really aggressive creatures. And I just kept winning. So I ran with it. I used this to get to Titanium in the first season, the one that got kind of messed up and they had to reset it. But within those, I think it was 2 weeks before they reset it, I had gotten Titanium. This time around, I got to Titanium in about 12 hours, and that was with several multiple hour breaks in between. I kept kind of going back and forth between deciding I wanted to get it and deciding I didn't want to get it. I got to Platinum originally, and I was like, I'll take a break and get it tomorrow. But then I decided to just push through and go for it. And so the total play time was about 8 hours, and that was double and triple queuing. Another part in this video, at the end of it, I will go over how to run multiple clients of SoulForge. Anyways, so yeah, so the deck is really fast. I've had a lot of success with it. It is somewhat tricky to play. You have a lot of decisions every single turn, and you need to really set up your draws for maximizing raid potential. And yeah, I've played a ton of games with this deck. Like I said, over 400 games I'm pretty sure I've played with this deck, so I'm pretty familiar with it. And, with any deck, you just need to put in the time and the effort, and if it's a good deck and you get really good at it, you'll win a lot more than you lose. So, as far as leveling priorities on turn 1, Ator is your number 1. Ator sets up all of your raids. If he survives and you get a Loris, your Loris is activating. Unless they fill up the entire board, but that's not entirely likely. So there's a really good chance your Loris activates, and if you go turn 1 Ator, this is how I win, or this is how I get all my easy wins with the deck, is you go turn 1 Ator, turn 2 Loris plus anything else, raid, they can't kill your Loris, you snowball out of the control, and you end up with a power level 3 by 1.3 and you win the game. The next best option is, I believe I was playing Shardplate Behemoth a lot of the time. The reason you play Shardplate Behemoth is, again, it's very, very difficult to kill. You've got a lot of aggressive creatures, so you get 1 aggressive creature and 1 hound, plus a Loris or a Blitzbane or whatever. Again, you basically win the game on the spot. This deck, one of the nicest things about it is it's got a lot of play, but it also has free wins. So 25% of the time, you just win the game for free. So I really like leading with Shard Plate if I don't have the Ator. It's really hard to kill. It's really resilient. Even it's hard to kill over 2 turns, and it pushes a lot of damage as well. So it's going to be a creature that sticks around, and that's why the Shard Plate Behemoth is actually so good in this deck, because it leaves there's so many times it just is so hard to kill, and it leaves around a 2/2, a 3/3, a 4/4, and it gives you those extra creatures in order to enable your raids, which is just so huge in the deck. Again, those are your free wins, is whenever you get these chip damage raids in, and then the next thing you know, your board is huge and impossible to come back from. Other than that, Umbra Lasher was been my third most picked, and then probably Windweaver. Anything that doesn't have aggressive, sorry, not Windweaver. Lores would be the fourth. And then I would pick Windweaver over either of my aggressive guys, because if you play a Korok or a Blitzbane, then they're very likely to kill it because you've got a creature on the offensive. And then you're not going to get your raids because you need your 3 creatures attacking, right? Blitzbane would probably be the absolute worst. And Raiders, I mean, they're in the deck for their Soulbind. You're not really supposed to ever play them. Sometimes you can get raids off of them when you have the Warhound Corsair and them. That's really nice, getting the extra aggressive creature. But for the most part, I try to avoid playing them. They don't level very well compared to the rest of your cards, and they're just for their Soulblind, which is the Warhound Corsair. Free and aggressive. So strong. Alright. Now, I'll tell you about some of the nuances with the deck. Obviously, the theme is to raid your Loris. Again, these are your free wins, but that's not going to happen every single time. So how do you win if that doesn't happen? Ator plus Umbra Clasher, such a good combo. It just puts you so far ahead on board. You have an Ator in play. It enables your raids for future turns. That's pretty obvious. One of the really good things about a free aggressive creature, and this is why the Fit of Rage is in the deck, although it works also with Lysian Shard a lot of the time, is this is a kill anything card. You can kill a Krogius with this with a Corsair at instant speed. So this is kind of like your makeshift removal in your otherwise non-removal faction, being, Tempest and Utera. The deck did have Dendrify in it at some point, but I ended up cutting those. Dendrify is a card that I like very, very much. But you just lose so much tempo. And you're a deck that's playing to win, it's not playing not to lose. And Dendrify is a card that you want to play in more of a control deck that you play not to lose, right? So I personally don't like the Dendrify in this deck. Again, it's a card that you play not to lose, whereas this is a deck that needs to be very proactive, because you have the reach to get there at early power level 3, late power level 2. Even late power level 3, you have that reach to get there, as long as you're proactive about dealing damage and not trying not to lose. So that's one of the nuances with the deck, is you really, if you're falling behind, you're not going to come back. It's just that you're just not going to come back. The deck has no removal, it's got no good board clears. I mean, Chaos Twister, but Chaos Twister I've been pretty unimpressed with. Honestly, something like Burnout might be better in this slot. But yeah, basically, something like Dendrify, even like Chaos Twister, and even Fit of Rage, and this is why they're not really that good in the deck, although Fit of Rage has more implications with Blitzbane. You just really don't come back with this deck. You get ahead and you stay ahead. That's how the deck works. So you need to really play with that mentality, and if you do fall behind, you're basically in desperation mode. You need to try and push damage and kill people before, like I say, you're just not coming back, so you just need to push for the damage and try to win before they build up their board and kill you. Okay, so A couple of the nuances, like I said I was going to get to, is, and this is a really important one, is playing creatures before you play Ator. So, say you've got a Loris and an Ator in your hand. Your initial implication might be to, oh, I'm an aggressive deck, I need to aggressive everything out. Or even a Behemoth. Well, Behemoth is a different story, but like, say, a Windweaver, or um, I guess Windweaver's really the only other one besides Loris. But, anyways, unless you need to kill something with Windweaver, you don't want to play Ator into Windweaver. You need to play Windweaver and then Ator, so both of your creatures remain on the defensive, and you've got already two creatures freely attacking next turn, or even one creature freely attacking next turn if they kill one of your guys, because so often you get an aggressive creature plus a Courser, and then you just throw down a Loris, throw down a Blitzbane, and all of a sudden you're raiding off of one creature. And this happens a lot, so it's really important to leave your creatures on the defensive and with summoning sickness, I guess, technically. And yeah, like I said, it's just really, really important to do that. Just realizing now that I'm not recording my cursor. Dang it. Alright, so you guys should be able to see my mouse now. I've been highlighting stuff. I guess it kind of shows the highlight anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. But, yeah. Oh well. So yeah, anyways. So this is the deck. Like I said, I've reached Titanium with it twice now. Both in very, very short amounts of times. Like 8 hours I was in Titanium. That being said, I've played a lot of Soulforge. I've played a lot of card games in my life, and I've played over 400 games with this deck in particular. So don't expect those kind of results as soon as you pick up the deck, unless you're, some kind of genius at Soulforge, which some people out there are. But yeah. Yeah, suggestions as far as improvements go, like I said, I've been pretty unimpressed with the Chaos Twisters. Fit of Rage, also pretty unimpressed. So I could see cutting these cards. That being said, it kind of does give you an out, and like I said, like 1 or 2 games, Fit of Rage has won me a game that would have been otherwise unwinnable. I don't know if that's worth it having in the deck, but I can't really see anything else that I might want to have. Actually, I'm just looking through random cards right now, basically. Aether Wolves might actually be a really, really good card in the deck, especially as like a turn 1 play. You'd pretty much guarantee raids on turn 1, like another card that other than Aetor that's really, really good to play on turn 1. Might be worth considering, I don't know. Go over some matchups. So the big decks, Poison, you basically just lose to it. Sorry to say, but unless you get like a lot of really good Aetor Umbra Clasher combos, the deck matches up so poorly. All of their creatures have 8 health. Well, a lot of them do. And nothing you have does 8 damage. It's really, really, really tough. And even your card that does have 8 damage, Sharpblade Behemoth, really bad against Poison. The deck just... Poison... Your deck's not going to be good against every deck. That's just a sad fact. Being bad against one of the main decks in the meta right now, probably not the best, but I didn't hit it that much. I managed to beat it like once out of the 6 or 7 times I hit it on the way to Titanium, and that was with a really good draw on my part and a really bad draw on his part. But yeah, otherwise it's pretty unwinnable. Against Burn, so a really good way to win against Burn is with Lysian Shard, and again, that's why this card is in the deck. You play Korok with the Lysian Shard on it, you've basically won the game already. They can't kill it, or they have to invest a lot of resources into it. That's going, like, their deck is a lot of spells, right? So if they aren't going face with your spell and getting those incremental advantages, you're going to build up a board that they cannot deal with. So yeah, Lysian Shard is huge. If you ever get a Loris to trigger, you basically win the game. Yeah, you want to play all of your highest health minions and just try your hardest to keep minions on board and make, like, you really want to go, what's it called? Where you build one really big creature. I don't remember now. There's a name for it. Anyways, you just want to go build a one really big creature, and yeah, that's how you're going to win the game against Burn. Against Control, I mean, look, all of your cards have aggressive. You just go face, 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 face. Every single time while I was playing, like, I would be talking to myself and I'd be like, well, this looks like a turn for doing damage. You're going to Ator out Shardplate Behemoths, level up your Blitzmanes, raid your Blitzmanes. Blitzmane plus Lysian Shard is huge because the Lysian Shard does double damage. Like, this is a 12 point of burn with the Blitzmane. You just think about this. A level 1 Blitzmane with a level 1 Lysian Shard, it's 22 damage if you get the raid off. Like, that's a huge amount of damage for 2 level 1s. And like, unavoidable too, like, aggressive. If you have the raid, I guess. So, yeah, but anyways, control, pretty obvious. Go face, play a little bit of board control, but yeah, just push the damage. I think I lost 1 or 2 games to control, but for the most part, I beat it. I'd say the deck is maybe 70-30 against control. And what were some of the other big decks I played? Necrium is a bit of a problem. I didn't see it very much, but like a controlling Necrium style, obviously it messes up your raids quite a bit, but the deck is actually fairly resilient. I did beat up on a lot of Necrium decks. You're able to push a lot and just kind of overwhelm them, and then they always have to make a decision every single turn. Do I play a creature, or do I kill one of their creatures? And if they're killing your creatures, then they're not developing anything, and as the game goes on, you've got a bunch of leveled up efficient creatures, and they've got a bunch of really crappy low end creatures because they haven't leveled any of them. So yeah, it's kind of the problem with removal is like, do I want to have the answer or do I want to have the question? And this deck always poses the question and forces your opponent to have the answer. So against removal based decks, it's actually fairly resilient, especially since like you have free creatures and yeah, just so much stuff going on, and you're always pushing incremental damage and leveling up your creatures. So eventually the removal gets petered out as well. Against life gain, you have so much, like, their life gain is really bad against dealing with creatures. So like your Loris basically just goes off against life gain, and it's really easy to snowball against decks that don't have removal. Growwide gave me quite a bit of trouble. Uh, it stops Ator, which is one of your main raid enablers, but I think Growlite was kind of like 50-50. It was basically whoever took over the board first won, which, is not unsurprising. If they take over the board, this deck has no comeback potential. If we take over the board, their deck really has no comeback potential. So yeah. But anyways, this is the deck. I quite enjoy playing it. I'm not really a big fan of aggressive decks, but this one's got some nuances in it that I enjoy. Anyways, I'm going to really quickly show you how to run multiple instances of SoulForge. So I have got my Steam folder here, the couple of Steam games that I have downloaded on my laptop. Anyway, so you go to your Steam folders, program files, Steam apps, common, and it's got all your games in there. So you just right-click on SoulForge, copy it, Control V creates a copy, and then you go into the copy, and this file right here and this file right here, you just rename them, and you rename them the same thing. So I'll show you what it's like in the normal SoulForge copy. So if I were to right-click, rename this, and make it SoulForge _2, I would have to make this SoulForge _2 data. And then you just go into here, click on the app. I create shortcuts for my desktop, obviously. I don't need to show you guys how to do that. SoulForge 3, SoulForge 4. It's a little confusing because it's in copy 3, but that's because it's copy 1, copy 2, and copy 3, and the original file, which creates 4. I haven't tried it, but I'm sure you could create 20 copies of this if you wanted and run 20 instances of SoulForge at the same time. You might blow your PC up. While I was streaming and running 4 copies, my laptop, which very rarely gets warm, got very hot. So it does, I don't really know the technical terms. I'm not a super into PC stuff. Other than that, I use them all the time, but I don't really know any of the technical stuff. But it did run my laptop pretty hot. So, there's that to consider. I don't want anybody to destroy their own laptop, but you are running 4 games at the same time. So, yeah. The client is a little hard pressed to run 4 copies at a time. Like when I was playing, I'd go play and I'd go to ranked, I'd select my deck, then the thing would pop up here. It has a little bit of trouble synchronizing all the clients at the same time, which is, understandable. They don't really account for people running 4 copies at once, but it did work. You just keep your tab in the online tab. The games will eventually pop up. And, you just join your games and play a couple games at the same time. It was a lot of fun. Anyways, that's the deck. I don't foresee a lot of people playing it because it is a bit of a trickier deck to play, and there are more reliable things like poison, like obvious tier 1 decks. But for me and what I wanted to do, which was get to titanium very fast, the deck is very fast, and it's so complex that I couldn't play multiple games at once. So here you go. If you want to try to push to titanium, there's I think 3 days left in the season. This might be the deck for you. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will try to produce more SoulForge content in the future. Thanks a lot.